I sure do love me a good presentation, and this year's big one just got cancelled. But it didn't really take long for anyone to figure out that they don't really need E3 as the label to do their presentations. People will watch it anyway. So I wanted to lay out my predictions for these presentations coming up in the few weeks here. They'll be more geared towards JRPGs. I'm not really going to mention like the big stuff. There are a lot of people who could tell you the big stuff. I'm sure they have better predictions than I have. But we're going in chronological order, so let's get started. State of play is pretty hard to predict. Sometimes they have really hard hitters within their presentations, but a lot of the times it's indies. PlayStation Presents is a different kind of thing, which is what they did last year and the year before for the PS5. That's usually where they talk about their big games, like Spider-Man 2 and God of War Ragnarok, things like that. So I'd say in general, keep your expectations relatively low. You might see a few cool indies that you might like, but in terms of JRPGs, I'd say there's not much to be had there. This presentation does air this week on June 2nd at 3 p.m. PDT. In the same fashion as last year, Mr. Jeff Keighley is hosting his Summer Games Fest. This is a multi-platform presentation that features lots of companies, especially third parties. I believe that third parties will remain the focus this year, as Sony and Microsoft seem to have their own things going. And Nintendo has no attendance to these kinds of things. They can make their own direct if they really wanted to. In terms of JRPGs, Jeff is no stranger to taking whatever he can get his hands on. Last year at Gamescom, for example, we had a trailer for Tales of Arise, as well as the reveal of Tales of Luminaria. And if you want to hear about the fate of Tales of Luminaria, then you can check out my video about it here. That's the wrong side. It's over there. Anyways, and also at the Game Awards, there was ATLUS presenting Persona 4 Arena Ultimax as a port. So if you're looking for potential ATLUS ports, I think this might be a good place to check in, especially if it's a PC Steam port, because there doesn't appear to be a PC gaming show this year. Bandai might be there as well, but we don't know for sure. ATLUS does have an announcement lined up for June. However, the Persona 25th is not guaranteed to be a game, so I wouldn't get my hopes up if I were you. The timing might make it seem like a game would be likely, but you never really know. Presentations are often variable in their worthwhile. Even Keighley has been kind of hyping down his stuff because he doesn't want people to be disappointed. And I think that's an interesting part of the culture that we're going into here. A lot of the time, hyping down presentations is a little bit better because it makes sure that we don't get our expectations too high when someone says 1,500 new games at this presentation, and then half of them turn out to be not things that we're interested in. You might not expect it if you've never really watched these presentations, but Microsoft's presentation is actually the place I think is most likely for us to get at least one JRPG. Of course, this heavily depends on if Microsoft is only focusing on their stuff or if they're also focusing on third party. There is a consistent track record here, and it's that Microsoft has always unveiled some sort of Bandai game in the past few years. Of course, it's not a guarantee because game development is all over the place. However, it is a possibility, and that's why I think it's pretty likely. In the past, they've shown Jump Force and Tales of Arise as brand new titles, first revealed at their presentations. They've also showed Code Vein, as well as Scarlet Nexus. Scarlet Nexus was shown at not E3 because it was 2020 and everything was a mess. Things still are, but you know. I expect this year could hold another Bandai title. However, I wouldn't totally get my hopes up on that, just purely because getting your expectations a little too high for this is a little dangerous. I'd say that for the most part, I don't totally know how game development has been affected by COVID, especially with Bandai. It's been about 3 years since the launch of God Eater 3, as well as Code Vein, and I'm not fully expecting sequels to those, as we could get a wholly new original IP, or not even a JRPG, just a different Japanese game, like a sequel to Jump Force. And I don't think they'll make one, but you never know with these guys. But yeah, I'd say Microsoft's conference is a good place to check in if you're hoping for maybe one JRPG. I think if you're just looking for that, then you might as well just wait till the presentation's over, but that depends on the kind of person you are and the kind of thing you like to watch. The conference airs on June 12th at 10 a.m. PDT. Now here's another question. Will Nintendo do anything? And a lot of Twitter, or I've seen a few posts, are convinced that Nintendo is going to do an E3 Direct. Is it possible? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to happen? I'm a little iffy. on the idea that Nintendo's going to do a Direct, and there are a few reasons for that. So, at least in terms of JRPGs, Nintendo's pretty laid out. You know Xenoblade's coming at the end of July, and you know that Fire Emblem's coming out in like a month, less than a month from now. There are other games that are not JRPGs. Mario Strikers comes out before the presentation would even air, and Splatoon 3 comes out in September. They already announced that. And in terms of the rest of their games this year, Bayo 3, Pokemon, I don't see a total good reason for them to do a whole presentation for 3 games. They could easily do a Direct later in the year to talk about Splatoon, as well as Bayo 3 and Pokemon. I just don't think the presentation's urgent. Of course, I'm not against a Nintendo Direct. I would wholly love one to show up so I could watch it. But I think we might be setting our expectations just a little too high, assuming that there will be a Direct after they info dumped us the past few weeks. This could age very poorly within the hour the video goes up, but I'd rather it age poorly than age well. I don't want to set up your expectations that you're guaranteed to have a Direct. But yeah, in terms of JRPGs, I'd say Nintendo's just about done. You've got your 2 for this year. Maybe there'll be a Fire Emblem next year, but I don't think that they'll talk about it at E3. That about wraps up my predictions for JRPGs at E3, or not E3. I don't know what to call it, but thank you for watching, and I really appreciate it if you would hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. That's the wrong side still. I'd also appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the video. If you reached the end, I assume you enjoyed it at least a little, and if you want to see more content from me, then that's always an option. And yeah, if you guys have any predictions of your own for E3, please leave them in the comments and let me know what presentations you're excited for, or if you don't watch the presentations, let me know what announcements you're excited for, or predictions that would make you excited. Anyways, thanks again, and I'll see you guys next week.